And she's one of the trifecta, I guess, the three big women in politics: Sarah Palin, Hillary Clinton, and Michelle Obama, the First Lady. Well, maybe not in that order, but they have been dominating the headlines, and they come from different backgrounds, have very different ideologies, as we know. But our next guest says they may be a lot more alike than we really think. Republican analyst Sanchez has written about the role that these powerful women have played in reshaping the public debate in her new book, You've Come a Long Way, Maybe, Sarah, Michelle, and Hillary, The Shaping of the New American Woman. And Leslie joins us now. Thanks for being with us. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
So, this is a takeoff the Virginia Slim's ad, You've Come a Long Way, Baby.
Exactly.
So when we say maybe, what inspired you to write this book? As we took a look at these three very different and formidable women in the 2008 election cycle.
It's really funny. If you talk to women about 2008, when they were in the middle of the fight for the campaign, it was really hard to digest. You had the convergence of three very powerful women. But when you step back, when you look at how these women were portrayed and how they were, in many cases, sexually objectified, and the sexism that did exist, you have to say, wait a minute, was there some sort of a time for us to re-examine the way women are treated in the media?
It's interesting because you write about your own personal story here, growing up with your mom in Houston, living in a small apartment, saying that, you developed your own brand of feminism, but it may not be what people define feminism as being.
Sure.
And we know that you've talked about it before, that you felt that Sarah Palin really got a bum rap when it came to the way that she was covered and the way that people talked about her and the things that were said. What was it about how you grew up and how you came to view feminism that bothered you about the way you felt Sarah was treated?
The interesting thing about Sarah Palin is she was a refreshing voice. She was exciting, and she represented a very important constituency for the Republican Party: conservative, evangelical women. Women who really wanted to espouse strong values within the family, who wanted to look at fiscal responsibility. She had that package, and she looked like one of us. I conduct focus groups across the country, and there's so many women that sound and talk like Sarah Palin. They were frustrated with the government's inefficiency. They were frustrated. Why can't they just get things done? And it was that sense of optimism, but that sense of kind of reforming government that really appealed to conservative women like myself.
You also do, though, acknowledge in the book that the way that it was handled when she decided to step out of office, as well as some of the other choices she made, proved to be a bit unfortunate for her.
No, it's unfortunate
and
for her.
people who, I guess, viewed her as a role model.
Well, I think I was one of the women who adamantly defended her for what she was trying to do, for the energy she brought to the party, but in many cases she was frustrating and she let down a lot of women. Not only in some of the poor performances she had, but let's give her some slack. It takes time for a presidential candidate or somebody at the top of the ticket to be aware of the national media, but also for her own preparation. She controls a lot of her image, and she's going to continue to do so in the future. She has a responsibility, I think, as a candidate.
Let's talk about Hillary Clinton for a minute, and then we'll get to the First Lady. And Hillary Clinton, you almost played out as this Mean Girls drama. You say that, they were basically painted on the campaign as the ditz, the witch with a B, and the darling. And you refer to Hillary Clinton. You also talk about, this is very interesting, the type of women, the group of women that were the last ones to come along and support Barack Obama in the primary.
Sure. The last women to come were to support President Obama were basically college-educated older white women, the traditional feminists, the women that fought the ERA amendment, the Equal Rights Amendment, who were fighting conservative women on sex education in the classroom back in the 60s and 70s. These were women who understood the burden that a lot of women had in the professional environment and were more skeptical of President Obama's experience. They were the last ones to join, and probably the first ones to jump off in terms of support of the president now. They were strong Hillary supporters.
And were they not happy with the way that she was portrayed? I mean, there was, when you think back, a lot of focus on her demeanor. Did she cry to sort of move people? Was she striking the right balance between looking strong but not looking shrill? I mean, these were all the types of things that don't really get discussed. And also, of course, her pantsuits. These are things that they don't talk about with the guys.
No, Sisterhood of the Traveling Pantsuit is one of the chapters. Hillary Clinton is an interesting phenomenon in the sense that she's incredibly qualified in terms of academic prowess. People know she's a policy person, and we've talked about that. The bigger issue was a lot of people inside the campaign said she wasn't likable enough. She started the campaign with high negatives. Why don't they see the Hillary Clinton that we know and like, the funny, affable character? It wasn't until New Hampshire you had that one experience, the tear jerk, where people felt there was something to be passionate about. She looked as if she wasn't treated fairly. That was the rallying cry for all women, regardless of ideology. If a woman's not treated fairly, it was really a sense of engagement.
Let's talk about Michelle Obama for a minute, because a lot of people were worried about her image at the beginning, right? She took a lot of heat. You remember the cover of New Yorker magazine that appeared to show her like holding a machine gun, right?
Sure.
And all of that stuff that happened, and then sort of her making clear that she's taking on this role as mommy in chief. Not a policymaker, not somebody that was going to be a co-president. How did her image get shaped in the media as well?
Well, her image is shaped even as she's become First Lady. I think she's looking more like the mommy-in-chief. She's much more feminine in her approach. She didn't want to have this appearance of a co-presidency. A lot of it has to do with her attire, her demeanor, her policy initiative. But the interesting thing about her...
Did we pigeonhole her? Did she get people selling her short, focusing so much on what she wears?
What's interesting about her, she's a professional woman who has now left her career to be a mom full-time and to support her husband and take on her own initiatives. It's very unique. She's a different type of First Lady. She's stretching those boundaries, but in many cases, think about it, she was supported by African-American women who bolstered her. They had their own sisterhood of support that was very unique, that was an undercurrent that took her as she was out building support for her husband. Hispanic women in many ways did the same thing for Hillary Clinton, bolstering her campaign in California, Texas. She didn't really see that on the national platform, but it was very, very powerful. She is going to be bolstered by those relationships, and I think there's a lot that women can learn collectively in terms of how she conducts herself as a mom, a professional, and a supporter of our president.
Well, it's an interesting book, and there's a lot of really interesting issues, and we'll see how things shape up in 2012. We can sort of talk about all three of these women. Thanks so much, Leslie Sanchez. Thanks for being with us this morning.